If you're an attorney and you already know probably about the gap between intake activity and assigned retainer, and how sometimes that can make your marketing feel like you've just entered a Las Vegas casino. Because if your intake team is busy and your conflict checks are slowing things down, your console calendar, is going to look full, but your assigned retainer count, well, that's going to stay flat. This is a video for you. There's this moment that I see over and over when I talk to attorneys. What will happen is you'll be in a meeting and someone will pull up the marketing agency's report. Traffic's up, impressions are up, calls are up, and then someone else pulls up the practice management dashboard and says, hey, our collected fees are not moving the way it should. Accounts receivable is creeping, and we're still anxious maybe about payroll. That's when the room gets really quiet because both things actually can be true. Activity can be up, and your law firm can still feel pretty tight. The central question that most attorneys miss is not whether your marketing is working. That question is just way too vague to be useful. The real question is, are we buying attention or are we buying case fit that converts into signed retainers? Two different questions. And most attorneys try to answer that question with a pile of proxy numbers. Clicks, cost per lead, call volume, form fills. And those numbers are not useless by any means, but they're not the thing that I would manage my firm on. They're upstream signals. And when you treat upstream signals like outcomes, you're going to end up paying for motion, and you will just spend your day arguing about interpretation. Because the friction point shows up most likely inside intake, not inside your ad account. Intake triage starts getting weird. The phones are ringing, but the conversations are off. And your intake team's going to just start asking, are we taking more of these because they're not our people? Consult scheduling just becomes a game of Tetris. And then the consult show rate drops because that lead never had any interest in hiring you in the first place. Or maybe the consult actually does happen, but the consult to client conversion is going to slip because the prospect is just shopping around, they're confused, or maybe they don't even have the money to hire you. So you're going to see it in the most simplest operational places. Retainer sent versus retainer side, and that just starts to widen. And when that happens, most law firms do one or two things. They're either going to blame intake or they blame marketing. And the intake team is always going to say the leads are garbage. And marketing, well, they're always going to say the intake team is not following up. And here's the thing, both can be partially right. And the argument still is going to go nowhere because the firm is missing one shared objective that both sides can respect. I like to call that shared objective the retainer bridge. What's the retainer bridge? Well, the retainer bridge, it's not a report, it's not a dashboard screenshot, and it's a decision rule that the firm agrees to use when evaluating marketing and intake together. So if you don't have a retainer bridge, you're just going to keep having the same meeting with different emotions. Because here's what's usually hiding underneath the bridge. Many agencies are going to optimize for what they can see and what they can influence quickly. That tends to be lead volume and cost per lead. And many lawyers, understandably, evaluate the business by what they feel. And that's going to be consult quality, signed retainer count, and whether the pipeline is calming down. Those two worlds are not automatically connected. They only connect when the firm forces the connection. So are you forcing the connection, right? You can feel the absence of the retainer bridge when attribution gets fuzzy. What is that? That's when a lead calls from, let's just say, your Google business profile. Then they later fill out a form on your website. Then they later come back doing a branded search on Google. 3 platforms are now all going to claim the same person. So what happens is your report looks great, but the signed retainer count does not match the full story. Or what if the opposite happens? Your law firm gets a few great matters and everyone starts to relax, but no one can say where they came from with confidence. So the next budget decision is really just guesswork. Operationally, this is where the leakage lives, and it's as plain as day now that I've shared it with you. Conflict checks are delayed, so prospects cool off. Follow-up speed, when it's inconsistent, the firm loses people who were actually ready to hire you. And intake triage is not aligned with case type fit, so your firm's just going to spend all the attorney's time on consults that never even had a chance to convert. That's when you start to think about discounting your fees to save a deal, which then trains the market in the wrong direction. And it's going to make next month's financial reports feel even tighter and worse. So let me take a minute to make this concrete for you. Suppose your marketing agency sends you 120 leads. Intake says 60% are bad fit lead volume. Another 20% never show for the consult. And of the remaining, you sign a handful. The marketing agency is going to point to the 120 and they're going to say something like volume is strong. Intake then just points to the bad fit lead volume percentage and says, stop sending us these people. And you as the lawyer, well, you're going to point to the signed retainer count and probably say something's broken. Everyone is staring at different parts of the same pipeline, and that's a problem. The retainer bridge forces you to have one conversation. What's the smallest set of numbers that connects marketing to revenue without pretending we can see everything? And when you do that, it usually starts with 3 operational truths. The first thing I always see is signed retainers are the only conversion event that matters for marketing evaluation. Stop talking about consults, leads. It's sign retainers. Second, case fit is just not a vibe. It's a measurable filter that shows up as a bad lead fit volume percentage and consult to client conversion. The third thing to look at is intake source accuracy. It's no longer optional. If the source field is wrong, you are just managing a business purely on fiction. So I'm not saying that you're going to need perfect tracking. It's no such thing. And I know that lawyers love certainty, and marketing rarely offers it. I'm just saying that you need a retainer bridge that's sturdy enough to hold budget decisions without turning every meeting into a debate club. And here's the part that surprises most attorneys. The retainer bridge is actually often cheaper than the agency relationship you already have because it's mostly discipline. It's agreeing that the report you trust is the one that ties to signed retainer count and that you'll treat everything else as supporting evidence. So a quick sidebar before we go on here. I put a checklist in the description. It's to help you compare your intake notes, your consult to client conversion, and your retainer sent versus retainer signed, so you can see where the bridge is breaking. Take a look at that after the video, but before you do, let's get back to that meeting. Once you have your retainer bridge in place, the tone of that meeting is going to change. I will tell you because instead of arguing about whether marketing is working, you're going to start asking questions like, are marketing source leads producing signed retainers at a rate that makes sense given our case type fit and our follow-up speed? If not, now you know where the break is. And if that break happens before the consult, you're looking at lead quality, bad fit lead volume percentage, and intake triage. Although if the break is between the consult and the signed retainer, you're looking at consult to client conversion and how your offer is being framed, including whether the potential new client understands the next step and your fee structure. And lastly, if it breaks after the signed retainer, you're looking at collections lag and accounts receivable behavior, which is a totally different operational problem that marketing can and will not fix. So notice what I didn't say there. I didn't say go change platforms. I didn't say let's chase a new channel. I didn't say publish more content on LinkedIn. Those are activities. Your firm definitely doesn't need more activity. It needs leverage. And that means choosing the restraint and putting measurement around it. Because over the years, what I've seen is that a lot of marketing vendors and the fatigue that comes with working from them comes from ambiguity. You get a report that can be interpreted in multiple ways, and you're asked to just be patient. Meanwhile, your law firm is trying to make payroll decisions, maybe hiring decisions, maybe even comp decisions. And I can tell you, patience is not a strategy when the data is not tied to signed retainers. So here's a high-level recovery posture that you can use right now without turning your law firm into a marketing lab. Go ahead and pick one revenue-tied metric that you trust more than clicks. For many law firms, it's going to be cost per signed retainer or even qualified consults. But the point is, it must be connected to the retainer bridge. Then insist that intake source accuracy is maintained well enough that the metric is not a fairy tale. Finally, start treating bad fit lead volume percentage as a first-class number, not an antidote, because it's the earliest warning that your marketing is buying the wrong attention. And I'll tell you, when you do those three things, you stop having arguments about marketing. You'll actually start having operational conversations about where the bridge is breaking and what the law firm is willing to change. So if you run a law firm and you want more of this kind of thinking, I encourage you to hit the like button and subscribe. That's going to let YouTube or the channel that you're on right now know that you like this content. But before you go, I want to leave you with this. Most law firms don't have a marketing problem. They have a translation problem. Marketing loves to speak in leads and platforms. Law firms and attorneys, live or die by signed retainers, case fit, and collected fees. The retainer bridge is simply the agreement to stop pretending those are separate conversations, even when your marketing reports look